I'm working as a DevOps for more than 7 years and overall 9 years of experience in engineering. During the time, I had the chance to work on the different domains, on the different projects, consulting, discoveries, etc. Currently, I'm a member of Center of Excellence and Technology Office in Intellius. Also, I'm a cyclist and promoting health lifestyle and many more. Just a little disclaimer before we get started. Everything that I will be describing here, it's based on my experience and use cases also that I applied. It's a project specific, and I hope that our use cases will match together, and you will apply this knowledge inside your projects. All right, little agenda. We will review the technology, the Crossplane. Later, I will show you some examples how we can install it, how we can configure it, what do we need in order to make it work, because I remember me when I was starting that, there were some pitfalls, etc. Then we will have a live coding demo session. I will show you how does it work, how we can integrate it with your application, etc. And then we will have questions and answers session. Of course, if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to leave it. We will be trying either review it immediately or in the end. Let's start from the beginning. As you may know, on the market, we have lots of configuration management and infrastructure as a code tools. Some of those already dead. It's like SAFe engine. If you don't remember what exactly even that, so probably you're new in the market, but this one is really old. The Salt Stack, Ansible, Chef, Puppet, those are configuration management systems. Some of the people are trying to manage the infrastructure, I mean, the cloud infrastructure with using, for example, Ansible, but that's not the best approach. I would not recommend you doing that. But anyway, except from Ansible, the other technologies are dead right now. So we're just not be focused on that. But on the right side, we can see the Terraform, Pulumi, and the Crossplane. Comparing to Terraform, Crossplane has some advantages, but anyway, Terraform is the most popular tool. It's used almost in each project. With using Terraform, you always can be sure that your infrastructure is consistent and you can reproduce it on any other environment. And I'm not to recommend you to use a Crossplane for everything that you have on your project, because I saw that ideas. I saw people trying to manage everything with using Crossplane or Pulumi, but that's not the right choice, and we will review that later. Regarding Pulumi, it's something similar to Terraform. You also have a tool that you are using locally on your PC, but you are developing with using code. Comparing to Terraform, you are using HCL. It's HashiCorp something language. I forgot the middle one, but anyway, it's really simple and similar to YAML, so everyone can easily get up to speed and start working with it. But Pulumi, it's mostly for developers who doesn't know the principles of Terraform, etc. So the Crossplane, it's when you don't want to use Terraform or Pulumi, and you have only few things that you need. Let's imagine you have an application that requires database. Almost every application requires database, right? But with using Crossplane, you don't need to wait for your engineers to create it for you. So it's like you are the managing, and you are using the same YAML as you are using for your application for Kubernetes. This topic, we will be mostly talking about Kubernetes and applications inside Kubernetes. So the Crossplane is a tool which helps you to manage the cloud resources inside the cloud resource inside your Kubernetes cluster. So the Crossplane itself, it's an operator which you need to deploy inside your Kubernetes cluster. And then with a simple configurations, simple packages, which we'll review later, you describe your cloud resources with using simple YAML file. And they are easily linkable together, and the state will also be kept on the Kubernetes side. We will review it a little bit later. Let's move to the features. As I mentioned at the beginning, let's say your application requires some storage, or let's say some queues, like for example, SQS or any other provider. And instead of asking DevOps teams all the time to create something for you or multiply, for example, you need to have 10 queues, and you all the time need to ask, create me one more, I need this one, I need that one. And with using Crossplane, you can easily add the configuration with a simple YAML file inside your Helm chart, and it will be created for you. That's the benefits. And why I was telling that the Crossplane is not the best way for managing infrastructure, because I'm treating this service as ephemeral cloud resources. Why ephemeral? Because I want these resources to be present into our infrastructure as long as application lives inside the Kubernetes cluster. We remove the application. Along with that, the cloud resources also will be removed. There are some policies, for example, for databases, if we would like to keep the data, because sometimes we want to leave that database to live, just to be sure that we can save, we can back up the data, because probably the data might be useful later. It also has a protection from changes. Let's say someone goes to the Amazon or Google Cloud and change something into the inside the configuration. For example, somebody changed the password for your database, and it will be automatically rolled back by the Crossplane, because it compares the configuration that you specified with the configuration which present in the cloud. So it follows the GitOps approach, GitOps principles. The reconcile circle also present in this tool, which making sure that your changes checked and always applied, if I'm not mistaken, in a minute or something like that. Also benefit that develop with using some programming language, or you don't need to learn Terraform, and you don't need to install anything on your PC like Bloomy or any other tools like Amazon CLIs, etc. You need just to provide a simple YAML file, and it will create a cloud resource for you. And as I mentioned, developers are able to manage those resources by themselves. They will be having a list of Amazon resources that they will be able to create, including RDS, including IAM policies, Kubernetes cluster. They will be even able to create another Kubernetes cluster and also install some other configuration inside that. So that's also possible with using this tool, but that's edge cases, but just for your information, it's possible. Now we have use cases. I already talked about that for a while. Along with the application, you integrate the cloud resources into one package. Let's say you have several applications which lives inside your Helm chart. I hope that you are familiar what does the Helm chart is. Helm chart is the package for Kubernetes, which consists from YAML templates where you describe your application, dependencies, the service, for example, which ports you need to open, etc. It's just general configurations for the Kubernetes cluster. And also you can integrate this Crossplane along with your application. And also you can match, for example, the output from creation, the RDS. Let's say you need to know what is the endpoint, because it will be dynamic. It will be unique. You cannot predict it. So you need to pass somehow the output from your database inside your application. It's also possible. We will be reviewing that. I will show you how to do that. And as I mentioned, it's ideal for ephemeral dependencies. Let's say you need to create SNS subscription for sending or subscribing something. Or for example, you need to create a Lambda function for some short operations. You will be able to do that. For example, for this release, you create the Lambda function. On the next release, you just remove that. And simple as that. So the Crossplane and Kubernetes, as you can see, its ability to use both APIs. First, you can control with using one Helm chart, you can control the Kubernetes resources, and with using Crossplane, you can use Amazon cloud resources. And I'm sure that I showed you the list of the supported clouds. As you can see here, we have Equinix, Amazon, Alibaba Cloud, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and of course, Red Hat. So the most popular cloud services supported by this Crossplane. You can even build and create some hybrid solution. And for example, you would like to create a database which will be syncing with each other, or you would like to create high availability with using, as I mentioned, databases or Redshift or any other tool. And by the way, before this meeting, I noticed that status page from AWS doesn't work, which means Amazon probably has some outage right now. And it's a good opportunity to have several resources, several clouds in one application, just to be sure that we are on the safe side. All right, we finished over here. Now we need to understand how we can install and configure the Crossplane inside the Kubernetes cluster. By the way, as you can see down below, there are a link to the GIST. All the code that you will be seeing in this presentation are available below by this link. In the end of the session, you will receive this presentation, and you can use all this code for yourself, for infrastructure, etc. Okay, so what we need? We need just a Helm chart from the Crossplane. It's a public. This Crossplane's member of Cloud Native community. It's actively developing, but it's already on the release 1.7, if I'm not mistaken, with the release candidate, something like that. But please be sure that you're checking the versions, because they are actively developing. And since last month, they have released probably from the version 1.5. Now it's version 1.7. So they are really rapidly developing. The second part is the packages. The packages, it's just basically things that helps us to work with specific clouds. As you can see here in the example, we have provided AWS, which is just a package which helps you to create resources in AWS. This package consists from custom resource definitions, and each custom resource definition help us to create a specific type of resource. Let's say it's S3 bucket, or it's RDS, or it's Redshift, or CloudFront, etc. On the live session, I will show you the list of the CRDs that the package has created. There are probably hundreds of them. I will be using the Argo CD, so everything that I will be showing will be very visible. The next thing is, as I mentioned, the installing of the package. You need to install a provider. There could be several providers. For example, you can have several Amazon accounts, or you can add in one go several clouds. Why not? And the second is provider config. So you just by the provider, you install the package, as you can see here, specifications, and on the provider config, you specify how to authenticate into that cloud. In this case, we are using the secret with the Amazon credentials. There are also possibility to use IAM-role with OEDC provider in case if you are using the Amazon managed Kubernetes service, AKS basically. AKS. If you're visit this link on the to the GIST, you will see the example how you can use integration with OEDC provider. Now, of course, we need to have a credentials. Those are not real, of course. I'm just showing you the structure. You need to create a file with this access and secret key, and then with using this command, you will be able to create a secret, or you can just encrypt it on the base64 format and create this secret inside your Helm chart or something like that. By the way, here's the link to the provider AWS, to the authentication README file. You will see more details there. What should you do, and the commands how to create even this one. Oh, yep. Now we have just an example how we can create S3 bucket. As you can see here, API version, we have a customer source definition. It's called S3 AWS.crossplane.io, and the kind is bucket, which is expected. And here we have
Италия запретила туристические поездки для граждан Украины. При этом запрещено уезжать в Италию еще таким странам: Зимбабве, Малави, Мозамбике, Намибии и Эсватине. Вопрос почему?
Настя?
I guess I already fixed it. It should be fine. Yeah. I am sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's okay. It's happening. I also saw that news. Anyway, we can see here just the basic configuration. So by this annotation, we are setting the name for our S3 bucket. Of course, it should be unique because the S3 bucket is globally available, and all names should be unique. And each CRD has two things. First, it's a deletion policy. In our case, if you delete this YAML file from the Kubernetes, along with this file, the S3 bucket will be deleted. The other option is orphan, which means if you delete this resource, I mean YAML file from Kubernetes, the S3 bucket will stay undeleted on AWS, so it will be orphaned. And the for provider, it's basically description for your S3 bucket, which is ACL, the region, the encryption, the version control, anything else, everything that you can apply to your S3 bucket. Okay, it's a demo time, and I would like to show you a few things. First, it's the API documentation. As you can see here, we have a version of our package provider AWS. We can see all the other versions. And for example, if we go to the same S3, you will see the all available options for this resource. As I mentioned, delete or orphan. we have provider config reference and the others. I will show you more about that a little bit later. But for provider is more important because, as you can see here, we have full list of configuration that we can apply to our S3 bucket, even website configuration. So we can create a public website with using Crossplane, which is amazing. Let's have a quick look to cache cluster. Elastic Cache is also a very popular service. And as you can see, we have many configurations here. Authentication token, AZ mode, node type, etc. Almost everything. And of course, all the packages are available under the Crossplane organization. And as you can see, we're currently on the examples. So this is the repository with the package, and each package has folder with examples. So since this one, it's not obvious how to use and which things you need to do at the beginning, but with using this example, you can see they have created a full folder with configurations with services. Let's open, for example, ACM, right? We would like to create a certificate. It's just simple. Region, certificate authority, domain name, transparency login, tags, with the DNS validation method DNS. Let's say we'd like to check cache, cache cluster, simply, replication, easy. All the examples are available on the provider AWS repository, as well as for Azure. Not much of that, but anyway. And GCP, we have DNS, we have JKA, we have compute, we have cache, pretty much that we need for the beginning. Of course, AWS the most popular. That's why we have more examples over here. But anyway, it's awesome. Okay, now it's time to open Argo CD. It should be on the port, this one. I already installed almost everything. So here we have, I will change the size. That should be good. I already installed the sealed secret controller, the Crossplane itself. Remember, guys, I was telling you that I will show you the list of the CRDs that the package has installed. So basically, we have the Crossplane itself. This is the resources from the Crossplane, and here we have provider AWS package. And as you can see, all these CRDs from here to here were installed by the provider. Also, I have one trick. The sealed secret is an encrypted credentials file, which is basically committed into my repository. It's the way which you can use for encrypting your secrets, and you don't need to worry about if the secrets will be leaked, because it's encrypted by the key, which is present inside of this sealed secret controller. So it's safe even to push these changes into the Git and publicly. As you can see, this creds has valid Amazon credentials with quite powerful permissions, and you will not be able to decrypt it because that's the logic. And along with this application, I have installed just a simple application with Nginx. all this information that I have deployed here, oh, not here, are located in this repository. We have a Crossplane, basically values. I just copy that chart, which has a dependency for Crossplane, and the plane was provider config, which you saw on the presentation. By the way, these guys are very important because this customer source definitions will be created after the Crossplane installed. So we need to skip first sync in order to let those CRDs created. Then we can create these guys. That's the logic of the Argo CD. If you are using this one, this will be really helpful for you. And the sealed secret, which I already showed you. All right. Remember, I was telling you that with using Crossplane, you can connect the database URL to your application, and it can be done automatically. Let's review the template that I have prepared for you. We have this structure, and it's basically go through the secret, and the secret will be created by the Crossplane. You just need to be sure that you know what is the name of that secret. And what we have here, we are mapping secret keys inside as an environment variable here. And the description of that environment variables we have on the values. I prepared something like this one. So let's finally create something. I have the same repository over here. I would like to first create S3 bucket. I have this configuration here. It's everything is templated, has unique names for the secrets. As you can see here, this point are responsible for secret creation. We are defined the namespace and the name of the secret which should be created after this resource created. So in the result, we will have the secret of this one and the secret of the bucket policy. I'm not sure that we need that, but for the S3 bucket, we will have in result the name of the S3 bucket. It's not that important as for RDS. As you can see here, we have this name of the secret, and we are using the same name here. Almost the same because we are mapping here some things. Anyway, let's start from S3. I would like to create this S3 bucket. Don't look at this cache name because I'm using this one only as a suffix for the name here on the S3. As you can see, it uses variable environment, variable API name, adds, oh, not this one, variable environment, variable API name, and then just name. So this name, cache, will be used only here. And we also built our name from some other variables. Why we need that? Just to be sure that in our cluster and in our account, we'll be having unique names. Because as I mentioned, we need to be sure that S3 bucket has a unique name for the whole Amazon. So that's why I'm adding some additional salt, I would say, just to be sure that our S3 bucket name will be unique. All right. Oh, the Argo CD already pulled the changes, and S3 bucket, as you can see, was created. And the name is prod demo cache. Why prod cache? What prod demo cache? Because we have environment prod, API name demo, and the name of the S3 bucket, it's a cache. Let's log into the S3 and check out the S3 buckets. Perfect. We have this S3 bucket created. Let's see what's going to happen if I commented it out. The S3 bucket is going to be deleted. Yep. As you can see here, we don't have that bucket anymore. Let's now use RDS. Also, I would like to use SNS. Let me remove this, guys. As you can see here, we are creating, let's say, Crossplane demo, and subscriptions. Let's say I would like to create my email subscription. Not sure that it will work with this dashes. We'll see. So I would like to create SNS, and also I would like to create RDS. As you can see here, I have a logic that I would like to specify which environment variables I would like to create for my application. And these keys will be created inside the secret. I will show you a little bit later. All right. Let's commit these changes. All right, let's party begin. We have created SNS topic with SNS subscription. Probably I should receive a notification here for the subscription. Not yet. Need to wait for a while. As you can see here, we have deployed the new version of our application, and it's failed to create because it still can't find the secret. And the secret is not yet created. I mean, it's created, but the endpoint is not yet available. I hope that you see, maybe not. I will be using this terminal then instead, because I can zoom it in. We have deployed our application to the app namespace. As you can see, RDS secret was successfully created. Let's see what we have inside that. Currently, we have a username and a password. And we don't have endpoint and port yet because the RDS is still provisioning. And as you can see, this password and username are the same as we have here. So we are referencing to a secret keys here and the mapping, the variable which we would like to map with. And the application, let's see what is the changes it's trying to add. So let's add it. Let's say these are. See, these environment variables were added automatically by the code. Postgres endpoint refers to the secret key endpoint, and the secret name is this one. Once our RDS will be available, the application will be created automatically. Let's check what's going on with the RDS. Here we have RDS. It's still backing up, which means it's almost finished. We already have a port and endpoint. It's not yet adjusted here. Oh, I think I need to zoom it. Sorry about that. We also can create a serverless Aurora as RDS instance. It's also possible. You just need to add several arguments for your template here. We have for provider, and you can provide any other arguments here. Oh, yep, we have endpoint, we have password. Those variables are base64 encrypted. It's default for secrets. Let's see what we have here. Oh, yep, it's automatically deployed once the secret fulfilled with all keys that we were referencing. Here's the live manifest. Those variables are there. Let's check it out. It's not Docker, sorry. Yep, Postgres endpoint, Postgres port, Postgres password, and something else, and username. Simple as that. But it seems like my SQS, it was SNS or SQS? SNS. Wasn't created for some reason, but anyway, I haven't tested it before. I mean, with, oh yeah, no, we have it. Perfect. But interesting, why not pod topics? I hope that that's okay. I remember I was using that and it works as expected. All right, let's then remove our S3 and see what's going to happen. Not S3, the RDS. For that, we need just to comment the code, which means it will disable this this code. Which means the RDS will be deleted. Yep, the RDS is going to be deleted. And our deployment was recreated without the environment variables that we just provided. We don't have it anymore. These guys are going to be deleted. interesting where we have created this topic. Anyway, we also can create Lambda functions. We also can create even IAM policies and IAM roles. But just to be sure, just make sure before you provide this possibility to developers that you have limited which exactly permissions you are providing. For example, you can limit the IAM itself to avoid people to become power users, right? You can scope the permissions for IAM just to create some specific permissions only for IAM. For example, you would like to use SNS or SQS. For that, you need to have a permissions, just a general Amazon permissions for your application or with using the IAM instance profile or IAM role. You will be able to create IAM role, but with limited permissions, and then no one become an admin. So you need to really understand and scope the permissions with following list privileged approach, just to be sure that you always follow this approach. All right, and I think that's it for the demo session. I saw several questions. Let me find those. Yeah, HashiCorp configuration language. Thank you. Hello, Igor. Let me open my presentation once again. Now, I'm waiting for your questions. You can unmute yourself and tell me directly or type in the chat. Meanwhile, the other cases for the Crossplane is to create, for example, some testing environment. Let's say you would like to check whether your configuration, whether your application performs, or you would like to run some integration tests. You can spin the same environment and run some tests and then just remove those. You can achieve that with, for example, using Argo workflows, create a step inside the workflow. Argo workflows, it's a CI tool that helps you to create CI pipeline inside your Kubernetes cluster. So you can create this pipeline with using Crossplane, create a step which will spin the environment, run some tests against it, and then just delete it. Easy as that. That's the other case that you can use for the Crossplane. The other pitfalls that I found, unfortunately, at this point, it's not possible to discover resources that already been created. Let's say you would like to get a VPC ID or subnets based on the labels or tags from Amazon, right? It's a common thing that you are doing when you are using Terraform. Based on the tags, you get the VPC ID or, for example, security group ID. It's not yet possible. The workaround right now is to create the resource, let's say security group, with the same name, with the same tags, with the same rules, because then it will assume it and it will treat it as controlled by Crossplane, and then you can reference to that. There are a possibility to reference to existing resources that was created by the Crossplane. The other things, let's say you lost your Kubernetes cluster. Along with that, you have orphaned resources. It could be everything else, like Lambdas, RDS, Elasticache, Redshift, anything else. Once you bring your cluster back, all the resources will be assumed back as well. So you don't need to worry about state of the resource that you have created. Once the Crossplane will be referenced again to the same resources, it will assume that and continue managing. All right, we have several questions. How do you use it for any of your production environments? We are using SQS and SNSQs as well as RDS. That's why I was showing you already these examples, as well as Elasticache for just caching purposes. For other environments except production, we use delete policy. And for production, we use orphaned because we would like to be sure in case if we lost or accidentally delete the namespace or Helm chart, the database will not be deleted. And once we restore the service, this database will be assumed back. So we are using it for production, yes. How to avoid security and privilege escalation via trust role policy when you're delegating, creating role, even with limited permissions boundaries? That's a good question. Trusted role policies also could be limited, but I haven't tested it yet. It's absolutely good and relevant question, because then you can create a trusted relationship and allow someone to assume it. And that should be okay, because you are the owner of this code. I mean, developers are the owners. And the only thing that might be happen if somebody gets an access to your Git repository, and then that people will be able to create some resources with using the Crossplane. You have to assume that, you have to accept that, and you have to live with that. But you are the owner of these resources, so you can limit only, for example, to create RDS, not as EC2 or not AKS, because with using that you can like create some miners or something like that. So that people not interested in RDS or some kind, they are mostly interested in compute resources. You can just deny doing that, and that will be sufficient. And by the way, remember I was telling about the issue with discovering resources. This feature is under development. I already subscribed for the updates and ask guys to speed up, because on the current situation, we need to hard code the subnets and security groups, which is not quite good. That's why we're really looking forward to see this feature implemented. Also, as a good example, you can create a separated Helm chart just for managing the Crossplane resources and use it as dependency for your main Helm chart, not to mix all the resources. Then you will be able to separate things, and also you will be able to create a version, do versioning for your Helm charts if you're releasing versions. I know lots of people has internal Helm chart repositories, and once they develop some feature, they release new version. We're also doing that, and that's why we're separating some things like cron jobs, the templates for the applications, and as well as Crossplane also separated to a different Helm chart with a version with incremental version releases. By the way, releases are done by GitHub Actions. I really recommend you doing that. It's really simple, and you don't need lots to create the pipeline. It's really easy. Any other questions, guys?
Okay, let's maybe wait for a few more minutes. Maybe someone will just get some additional questions. And I want to say thank you so much. It was great, as even for me as non-technical person, it was just great to figure out the way you think, and the presentations is awesome as well. I just want to remind you guys that tomorrow I will send you the follow-up with the presentation and with the recording of this event. So in case you want to refresh something and get something new from this webinar, you can always do it and find the information on your email. Thanks again, Volodymyr, as always. Yep. I guess we don't have any questions.
Yeah, there are one question directly for me. Have you tried composite resources? No, I haven't. I know that they exist. We don't just need them yet, and once we need that, I think we will be using, but not yet. So I cannot tell you more details about that. And just curious how simple that would be in terms of team delegation. Not sure that I understand the question. Probably you mean how easy to manage the resources itself. For example, if we are delegating, creating cloud resources for developers, that's the question, or it's related to the composite resources. Could you please clarify that?
Hey, sorry, this is Andrew Dennis. Yeah, that's right. There's related to composite resources, and probably the more limited way to manage resources and delegate a particular set of resources to team. So just curious whether you've used that and how easy.
No, unfortunately, yeah. But anyway, we are moving to that, and it seems like we'll be using it in the future. Thank you, Dennis, for the right questions. Okay, it seems like we don't have any other questions. Thank you all, guys, that you have had the chance to visit this event today. I'm really glad to see you all here. It was a pleasure to talk with you, and I hope to see you soon on the next meetups and events. Stay tuned, and see you soon.
Thank you once more, guys. Thank you, Volodymyr. Have a great evening, guys, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.